I'm getting married in 2 weeks. Or at least, I was. My name's Mike. I'm 34. And for the past 6 years, I thought I was building a life with Sarah, my best friend, my partner, the person I wanted to grow old with. We were engaged for 1 year, and everything was planned to the last flower petal. We were finally taking this next step. But then, I overheard one sentence. One casual little lie that changed everything. It happened on a quiet night. Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner. I'd just come in from the backyard where I was building a fire pit, a little project for autumn evenings together. I went inside to grab a drink. That's when I heard her. She was on speakerphone, talking to her brother-in-law, Marty. Now, Marty is married to Sarah's sister, Evelyn. Good guy. Steady. Honest. Always been there for his family. I heard him asking Sarah if she knew where Evelyn was. He said she wasn't answering any of his texts. Sarah didn't hesitate. She said, "Oh, she just left here. She should be home in about half an hour." I froze. Evelyn hadn't been at our place. Not that day. Not even close. I hadn't seen her since the night before. At first, I brushed it off. Thought maybe I'd misheard. But then Sarah hung up, and I asked her what that was all about. She said, Marty was looking for Evelyn and casually started texting someone. I asked who she was texting. She said, Evelyn, letting her know Marty's looking for her. Something twisted in my gut. Because, why would she be texting Evelyn if Marty already said she wasn't responding? And more importantly, why did Sarah lie? That's when it hit me. Sarah knew exactly where Evelyn was. Or at least, she knew where she wasn't supposed to be. And that message she sent? That wasn't a check-in. That was a warning. My stomach dropped. Because the only reason to lie to someone about their wife's whereabouts is if you're helping her hide something. And suddenly, I couldn't unsee it. Couldn't stop my brain from racing through every possible explanation. Was Evelyn cheating on Marty? And was Sarah, my fiancée, helping her cover it up? I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Around 1 a.m., I gave in to the paranoia. Picked up Sarah's phone. We know each other's passcodes. I told myself I just needed a little peace of mind. But what I found was the opposite of peace. Hundreds of messages. Sarah and Evelyn talking about the affair. About the guy Evelyn was sleeping with. About the lies they told to cover it all up. About Marty. About his flaws. His failings. His boring routine. His parenting. Stuff that made me sick to my stomach. And Sarah? She was complicit in all of it. Not just silent. Not just turning a blind eye. She was participating. Helping. Enabling. And in that moment, the woman I loved didn't feel like a stranger. She felt like a liar. A woman who could cover for a cheating sister while her brother-in-law took care of their 2-year-old daughter at home, completely unaware. That's when I knew. I couldn't go through with the wedding, no matter what it cost me. The next morning, I sat in silence at the kitchen table. Sarah was humming while flipping pancakes, like nothing had happened. Like we were still just 2 weeks away from our perfect wedding day. But all I could think was, how do I confront someone I no longer recognize? I didn't ask her anything. Not right away. Because I knew, if I did, she'd lie again. So instead, I started preparing for what I knew had to happen. I called my older brother first. He lives in Australia. He bought tickets for himself, his wife, his 2 kids, all to come to my wedding. And I had to tell him, it was off. To his credit, he didn't complain. Didn't guilt me. Just listened. Backed me up. He said, you deal with liars every day in your job. Why should your home be another battleground? And he was right. I work fraud investigation. I see deception all the time. But I never thought I'd find it in my own home, in the person I planned to marry. That night, I sat in my car outside Marty's house, Evelyn's husband. Sarah's brother-in-law. The guy being cheated on. I had to tell him. He deserved to know. More than anyone. When I sat down in his kitchen, I told him everything I had, screenshots, the text messages, the details. His face didn't move. He just sat there, breathing, like he already knew. And maybe he did. Deep down, he said Evelyn had changed. That he suspected something. But now? Now he had proof. That same night, I helped him track Evelyn. He wanted to know who the guy was, her affair partner. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I knew how to find out. So I did. We followed her. Staked out the bar she went to. Took photos. And when I confronted her at that bar, she looked me dead in the eyes and introduced me to the guy she was cheating with as her sister's fiancé. Smiling. As if nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't destroying a family. Like she wasn't dragging Sarah into the mess. Later that night, we watched her take that man back to her home. Marty's home. I gave Marty the evidence, the photos, the name. Then I went home to face Sarah. When I got home, Evelyn was there, curled up on our couch, crying. Sarah was sitting beside her, rubbing her back like she was the victim. I stood frozen in the entryway. They looked up at me startled, but not surprised. I asked, "What's going on?" Sarah said quietly, "Marty's divorcing her." I played dumb, sat down, asked, "Why?" Sarah hesitated. Evelyn gave her a look. Then finally, Sarah whispered she cheated. I asked the next question straight. "Did you know?" She nodded. 6 months. That's how long she'd known. 6 months of lies, of covering, of sending warning texts to Evelyn, of helping her escape consequences. That's when I stood up and said the words I never thought I'd say. "We're not getting married." Both of them froze. What? I can't marry someone who covers up an affair, especially for this long. Especially when a child is involved. Sarah started sobbing. Evelyn just stared at me. Then it clicked. She screamed, lunged at me, and clawed at my face. I stumbled back, hands up, yelling, "Get off me." Blood was running down my cheek. Sarah pulled her off. I locked myself in the office and called the police. I wasn't bluffing. When the cops arrived, I showed them the scratches, the video on my phone. The officers hesitated, like they didn't want to deal with the drama. But I insisted. Press charges. Evelyn was handcuffed and taken away sobbing. Sarah was pleading, begging me not to do this. But I was done. Done pretending this was normal. Done pretending I could marry someone who let this happen right under my roof. That night, I slept in the guest room. My cheeks stung. My chest hurt worse. The wedding was officially over. The next morning, the house was spotless. Sarah had cleaned everything. Floors shining, bathroom gleaming, like she was trying to erase what happened the night before. When she saw me, she hovered, wanting to speak, but keeping her distance. I told her, "We need to finish this conversation." She tried to sit next to me. I didn't stop her. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. She asked, "What about us?" And I told her the truth. I don't know. Because the truth is, I didn't hate her, Dot. I was disappointed. I was disgusted. But I didn't hate her. She'd helped cover up a months-long affair. Lied to her own brother-in-law. Lied to me, Dot. And yet, when I asked her why, she said something I didn't expect. I had to choose my sister. She admitted Evelyn had always been the dominant one, that she'd been bullied by her sister her whole life, and this was just her default. Keep the peace. Say nothing. Obey. And for the first time in 6 years, I realized something horrifying. I didn't really know Sarah. She had always been the perfect girlfriend. Always agreeable. Always supportive, Dot. But now I saw, maybe she wasn't being supportive. Maybe she was just afraid. People-pleasing. Mirror-reflecting. Doing anything not to rock the boat. She cried and apologized again and again. Said she'd get help. That she wanted to be better, Dot. That she had spent her life terrified of rejection. Of being unloved. It was heavy. Then, just when I thought I had heard it all, she dropped a bomb. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You were sexting with that Mandy girl last year, and I forgave you." What? I swear my heart stopped. What are you talking about? Sarah, still crying, said she'd seen messages on my computer from someone named Bimbo Wife Mandy that she'd chosen not to confront me because I'd stopped. Only. I had never messaged anyone named Mandy in my life. And then it hit me. Last Christmas. My brother Carl. He was visiting with his family from Australia. He used my office. My computer. It wasn't me. It was him. So now, on top of everything else, Sarah thought I had cheated too. Based on something my brother had done. I was exhausted. Betrayed by my fiancée. Now blamed for something I didn't even do. My world was collapsing. I stormed into the office. Pulled up search history. Tracked the accounts. And yep, Carl. My own brother had been messaging this Mandy woman from my computer. And Sarah had just assumed. No conversation. No confrontation. Just resentment, quietly carried, and maybe used to justify her silence when Evelyn cheated. That night, we barely spoke. We sat in the same room, like ghosts. Two people in a house that no longer felt like home. Sunday came, and with it, the parents. Sarah and I sat at the long oak table she'd proudly bought from Facebook Marketplace the year we moved in, the one she always imagined hosting big family dinners around. Just not like this. My parents. Her parents. All of us in one room. And for 3 grueling hours, we hashed it out. No one was happy. No one should have been. My parents backed me cautiously. It's his decision to make. Translation? We think this is a mess, but we'll stand by him. Sarah's parents were less reserved. They were furious. And not just because of the money, though we were all about to lose plenty of that. They were embarrassed, angry, and despite everything, still defensive of Evelyn. At one point, I said I wanted to repay Sarah's portion of the house equity. I figured, with the wedding off, we'd go our separate ways. Sarah snapped. I'm not moving out of my house, she said. And we are not breaking up. There it was. She still didn't accept what this meant. The wedding was off. Our relationship was hanging by a thread. And she thought we'd just pick up and carry on. After the parents left, Sarah and I tried to talk again. But it was circles. Around and around, the same arguments, same pleas, same denials. Eventually, we stopped, put on a movie, sat in silence. Two people pretending to still be something we weren't. That night, we went to separate bedrooms. And in the morning, I found something slid under my door. A letter. 20 pages long. From Sarah. I didn't read it right away. I just stood there, holding it, thinking. How the hell did we get here? It took me most of the workday before I finally opened the letter. 20 handwritten pages. From Sarah. Neat cursive. A little smudged in places, like she'd cried while writing it. And what I read was the first real glimpse I'd ever gotten into her. Not the mirror she held up to me. Not the perfect girlfriend who never argued, never disagreed, never said no. But Sarah. The scared little sister who'd spent her entire life in Evelyn's shadow. The one who was bullied, dismissed, told what to do, and who to be by a family that never really cared what she wanted. She wrote about how she learned early on that keeping Evelyn happy was the only way to avoid chaos. That saying no only led to punishment, silence, ridicule, cold shoulders. So instead, she became agreeable, accommodating, a yes woman to everyone, even to me. It made sense, suddenly, everything made sense. Why we never fought. Why she always deferred to my plans. Why she tried so hard to be perfect. Because being perfect was how she survived. But she also admitted something else. That she knew what Evelyn was doing was wrong. That she hated being a part of it. That she felt trapped, again, under her sister's thumb, but couldn't stop playing along because she was afraid. Afraid of rocking the boat. Afraid of losing her family. Afraid of being unloved. That line hit me hard. Because here I was, finally seeing Sarah not as my fiancée, but as someone who didn't even know who she was without someone else telling her. By the end of the letter, she made one promise. That she would get help. That she didn't want to live like this anymore. And that, if there was any chance of us still having a future, she knew it couldn't be built on lies, or guilt, or pretending. She had to change. She wanted to change. That night, we talked again. And for the first time since this all started. We didn't argue. We didn't yell. We didn't cry. We just talked. I told her she needed to move out, not as punishment, but because we both needed space, distance, time. And she agreed. Not easily, but she did. The wedding was still off. The relationship? Undecided. But now, it finally felt like we were standing on truth. And that, no matter what happened next, was something. A few weeks passed. Sarah moved back in with her parents, into her childhood bedroom, just like Evelyn. We barely talked. Some texts. A call or two. Mostly about logistics, the house, money, canceled vendors. Emotionally, we were still oceans apart. Then Sarah called me one night. Her voice was shaking. I need to tell you something, and I need your help. I thought it was more fallout from the wedding. It wasn't. Sarah had overheard her parents and Evelyn whispering in the kitchen. They were planning to accuse Marty, her own brother-in-law, of child abuse. A false report. A setup. They were going to say that Marty had harmed their 3-year-old daughter in some unspeakable way, all to gain full custody, to protect Evelyn from losing access. Sarah said she froze when she heard it. Couldn't believe what they were planning. She knew Evelyn was manipulative, but this? She told me she had to do something. She had to warn Marty. But she didn't feel strong enough to face him alone, not after everything she'd done. She asked me to go with her. I almost said yes, but I didn't. I told her, this is your burden to carry. You need to tell him. You want to make it right? Then this is where it starts. To her credit, she did. She went to Marty's parents' house where he'd been staying, and she told him everything. About the plan, the conversation, the kind of accusations they were trying to fabricate. She gave a formal statement to his lawyer that same night. And it saved Marty's life. Because just a few days later, Evelyn followed through on her threat. She filed the report, made the claim, but Marty was ready. His lawyer dropped a notarized affidavit from Sarah, played the recorded audio interview, backed it all with documentation. The judge shut it down instantly. Not only was Evelyn's claim dismissed, but Marty was granted primary custody, effective immediately. Evelyn only allowed court-supervised visits with an observer present. And Sarah? She was cast out by her family, completely. They cut her off, called her a traitor. Her parents refused to speak to her. But she said, "I'd do it again. 100 times. I should have spoken up sooner." For once, she didn't back down. For once, she chose right, even if it cost her everything. And me? I started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was a version of Sarah worth getting to know again. But there was still so much wreckage left. So many scars. So many unanswered questions. Especially one I couldn't shake. If the woman I almost married had finally done the right thing, was it too late for us? The wedding date came and went. The date that was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it was just Saturday. No tux. No vows. No aisle. No first dance. Just silence. Sarah and I spent that day apart. We both agreed it was for the best. Too much raw emotion. Too many reminders. The caterer refused to refund the full amount. But I pushed back. Told her either she refund more or give us the food. She chose the latter. So now my parents have a freezer full of steak, chicken, and fish meant for 150 guests. The flowers? Already bought. The venue? Lost deposit. The DJ? Surprisingly kind, refunded nearly everything. Some guests, especially the older ones, still mailed gifts. We're returning them one by one. And me? I sat in the quiet and let it wash over me. It wasn't just the wedding I was grieving. It was the illusion, the version of Sarah I had built in my head. The future I thought was guaranteed. I spent so long believing she was perfect, that we were perfect. But that image shattered. And yet, even after all that, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. Because after everything collapsed, Sarah changed. She cut ties with Evelyn. She stood up to her parents. She handed Marty the proof that saved his life. And that made me ask, was this the real her finally coming out? We talked days later. Not about weddings or rings or vows. Just life. She cried. Said she was sorry. Said the worst part wasn't losing the wedding. It was realizing how much of herself she had lost trying to please everyone else. Especially Evelyn. She said, maybe I never really knew who I was outside of being someone's sister, someone's daughter, someone's girlfriend. And for the first time, I believed her. I told her we weren't getting back together. Not now. Maybe not ever. But I wasn't going to throw her away either. I said heal, grow, learn who you are. And maybe down the road, we'll see. We hugged. No promises. And that was it. The wedding didn't happen. But maybe something better did. A reset. A reckoning. A chance to become who we were meant to be, not who we pretended to be. And that's something worth showing up for. I found it the next morning, slid under the door like a truce flag. A thick, handwritten letter from Sarah. 20 pages long. I didn't open it right away. Not out of anger. Just exhaustion. I had spent days digging through deception, confronting infidelity, calling off a wedding, dodging emotional bombs. And now this? But eventually, I sat down, exhaled, and started reading. And what I found wasn't an apology. It was a confession. A lifetime of silence. Of trying to be small. Of trying to be easy. Sarah had spent her entire childhood being pushed down by Evelyn. Not physically, emotionally. She was the quiet one, the obedient one, the good girl, who never rocked the boat. And she kept that going into adulthood. She became a mirror, reflecting what others wanted to see. Evelyn's backup dancer. Her parents' golden child. My perfect girlfriend. Never saying no. Never pushing back. Always smiling, even when her insides were screaming. She admitted that for years, she didn't even know where Evelyn ended and she began. And that's why she went along with covering the affair, not out of malice, but fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of abandonment. Fear of being unloved. She wrote, I thought if I said no to Evelyn, she'd turn on me. And if I told you what was going on, you'd think I was weak. So I said nothing. And by saying nothing, I said everything. It hit me hard, because when I looked back, she really had been the perfect partner. Too perfect. She never disagreed. Never fought. Never picked a restaurant or questioned a plan. Always went along. Always adapted. Always conformed. And for a while, I mistook that for compatibility. But it wasn't. It was survival. That letter broke my heart, not because it changed anything, but because it explained everything. Sarah wasn't evil. She wasn't manipulative. She was lost. And for 6 years, I didn't see it. At the end of the letter, she didn't beg me to stay. She didn't ask me to reconsider. She just wrote, "I need to find out who I am, finally. And if you're still there when I do, maybe we'll talk." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring at the pages. Because for the first time in this whole mess, I felt like I actually knew her. Not the version she crafted. Not the mirror she held up. Just her. Scared. Flawed. Human. And I realized something. Maybe calling off the wedding wasn't the end of the story. Maybe it was the first honest chapter either of us had ever written. It's strange how something that once consumed your every thought can become just another part of your story. This is that part. The one where everything finally settled. A week after I read Sarah's letter, Evelyn made her move. She tried to take Marty down with a fabricated accusation so vile it could have ruined his life. Not just his reputation, but his future, his job, and his relationship with his daughter. And here's the kicker. Her parents backed her. They were willing to destroy their own son-in-law just to protect the daughter who had lied, cheated, and dragged everyone through the mud. But Sarah, she stood up. For the first time in her life, she didn't flinch. She walked into the courtroom, gave a sworn statement, handed over audio, text logs, and her own words on paper. And when the judge saw the full picture, the lies, the manipulation, the desperation, Evelyn's plan collapsed. The court granted Marty full custody. Evelyn was ordered supervised visits only. Her smear campaign was dead on arrival. And Sarah? She walked out of that courtroom alone. No more hiding behind Evelyn. No more playing the good girl for her parents. No more pretending. She moved out a few weeks later, got her own place, started therapy, and for the first time, began figuring out who she was without anyone else writing the script. We've talked since then. Had coffee. Walked in the park. Sat in silence. We didn't get back together. But we didn't slam the door shut either. Sometimes, two people love each other in a broken way. And fixing it doesn't mean rushing back. It means stepping away and seeing if something real can still grow from the ashes. As for me, the wedding day came and went. Instead of vows and champagne, I spent it surfing with my nieces in Queensland. Laughing. Getting sunburned. Remembering what peace felt like. Marty's healing. His daughter's safe. Evelyn? Still Evelyn. And me? I'm rebuilding. Not with someone else. With myself. Because sometimes, the person you need to marry first is the one in the mirror. The end. Thank you for reading my story. I don't know where it ends, not really, but for now, this is as close to closure as I'll get. And maybe that's enough.